I used to live with a guy who wanted to be a millionaire, and he thought of himself as an entrepreneur and an inventor. But interestingly, like he had a notebook of inventions, but they're really boring inventions. Um, Now he had a degree in physics, but he seemed uninterested in using that physics towards something, amazing or something interesting, and instead was interested in inventing something that a large company could use to change their product. Which, I mean, it sounds okay, but the way that he hyped it up was just like disproportionate to what he was actually doing. And this is the same guy who, see, at first I kind of got along with him because I was interested in business and all the type of entrepreneur qualities or whatever. I had those, but I later learned because of him, and then later because I saw other people like him. Um, what they care about is not the same as what it gets hyped up as. Like entrepreneurs get hyped up as being these brave, you know, genius people, but really all that guy was interested in was money and investing. They get this romanticized view of an entrepreneur, and instead of like this guy, he didn't have it in him to even not live in a house or something. Like I can live in a vehicle easily. I mean, I would love to live in a vehicle. I think it's great. Save money. Unless you have pets or something. But this guy was treating it like a big decision. Like this was something he was not really comfortable with. This is He doesn't have those qualities. He does have an interest in making money, but he doesn't have the qualities that he wants to have, and I happen to have some of those qualities. So at first, he admired me and everything, but later when he found out that I was working for free, um, which for me there are benefits, but for him it's like, oh, you're not getting any money from this, and his entire view switched because of money. That's what he really, really cares about, is getting money. And I think there's a lot of people who are going this way because of propaganda, because of how business is romanticized, how people's character is defined by how much money they make rather than by their actual character. Um, and it's it's both the way that people, speak poorly of poor people as if they're just really bad with money and they're just something's wrong with them because they don't have enough money. And then they'll speak highly of someone who does have a lot of money and praise that person. So it's like who they are depends on their money, which is wrong. And that's something that I had to realize because I was taking it a little bit to heart. And then I became more disenchanted with the world and realized that what people say and what they think are two different things. Like what people say about, um, you know, basically, everybody is full of shit is basically what it is. It's all bullshit. This Okay, somebody can be talking to you about what they want to be. They can say, I want to travel the world or something, but they don't want to travel the world. They want to have enough money to visit parts of the world as a tourist so that they can feel as if they're doing something, they can feel as if they're living. Traveling for them is having the means to have a certain quality of life while traveling. Like Does that make sense? It's not just the traveling itself. They want to have means. They want to have like the best of the best or whatever. And me, I'm not about that because I think the best of the best is really shallow. I don't want the best of the best. I want something real. And um, I have traveled. I just haven't done it in such a way that I had lots of money to spend so that I can have all the best of a place and not anything else. So when it comes to this income or your job defines who you are, I still see that as like a more popularized or like more refined version of the keeping up with the Joneses white trash mentality. And I call it the white trash mentality because when I was living in a poor area, which I still am, but a different one, but when I was living in that other area, white trash was an insult to people who were poor. But it always came from people who were poor who thought they were better than their neighbors, even though they were white trash. So I kind of got past that and realized, I'm really not white trash. I'm like whatever they're saying is white trash. I mean, we can't both be white trash if they're calling me white trash. Like I thought about it and I was just like, none of this makes sense. And I sort of rationalized like and redefined what white trash actually means. And to me, it's a mindset. To me, it's not what you actually have. It's the mindset of thinking that because you have a nice truck or something, that you're better than the person next to you. Um, Even though you may be on equal level. And that's the mentality that I see going on a lot with these people who they want to be, businessmen and stuff. They have a white trash mentality. If they had true, genuine passion for the business, I would respect them a lot more. But when you have people who you're all part of the same class and they're putting you down because they want to be a millionaire and blah blah blah, that is the white trash mentality to me. It's trying to make yourself feel better by comparing yourself with others and putting them down. It's basic stuff, but it's so common. I didn't realize how common it was and how much that fueled the propaganda about business and entrepreneurship and all this stuff. Like everybody thinks that they're gonna make a business and get rich off of it. That's just not. You're gonna have other people involved, or you're gonna have to start out with money. And I know people who are investing, and I don't really blame them. That's how people get so rich. Um, is because they invest in companies and like they take the money that they've already made and then they invest it and get richer. I mean, everybody does that. Like Oprah does that. How do you think Oprah is so rich? I mean, she does have like all the stuff that Oprah's done. You can't start from the bottom and get to that point without just by thinking that you can, just by thinking positive thoughts, you're not going to get there. You have to have some resources. You have to have some connections. There's something practical there that got her to that point. And all of this romanticized bullshit is the stuff that gets thrown at homeless people and poor people. And as a homeless person and a poor person, I don't believe it because I know it's bullshit. Um, and I also know that the whole thing about poor decisions is also bullshit because there's a huge difference between taking responsibility for the decisions that you've made for your own actions and taking responsibility for the stuff that people have done to you as a result of your decisions. Like, those actions that they have done are still theirs. Now, you can still learn from that and learn to not, let that happen again. Not just like let people come in and walk all over you, but at the same time, you can't blame yourself for something that somebody else did. You just have to learn from it. So that's another thing that's bullshit about people who about um the whole mindset of how much money you have or how well off you are is due to your character, and that if you're poor, you've made poor decisions and you're just a bad person. If you haven't made a poor decision in your life, I don't I think everyone has made a bad decision in their life. It's just people who are not afraid to admit it versus people who, romanticize things and bullshit themselves, delude themselves into thinking that they're something that they're not. I don't play that. That's not what I'm about. I don't like that. I like the practical, um, real stuff. I don't like the whole romanticized stuff. Now, sometimes I'll do stuff for fun. Like, I tend to, uh, I have kind of like a persona of a pirate, and I know, I'm not fooling myself though. I actually do know stuff about pirates. I just like to have fun with it. Whereas these people, they truly believe their own bullshit. I guess that's a bad example because pirates is completely on a completely different level. But yeah, because I don't have like a philosophy surrounding pirates or anything. But like as far as entrepreneur wannabes or whatever, they have this whole philosophy. It's like this guy who watched motivational videos and read, personal development books. Personal development for me takes you experience things. You don't need to read a book basically, unless that book gives you practical information. Um, if it's just feeding you a bunch of romanticized, ideology, it's bullshit. There's nothing practical there to learn from. Um, Personal development, you're always going to develop as a person if you are aware, you're self-aware, work on self-awareness, reflect on your experiences, reflect on, your own life, learn from others. You don't have to sit there and analyze them. Just pay attention, and things start to click together. Things click together, and you learn something. Like every interaction is a learning experience. You don't have to think about it and mull over it. It just is. But I mean, it might be something that some people need to make a habit because they haven't done it much. But self awareness will give you all the personal development that you want. Self awareness and observation. And then you can also use things like actual psychology. Um, you can research basically how things work so that you get a better understanding of how things actually are. And like this one guy, he said because he had a physics degree, he sees the world as actually is, and that was his justification for sticking to an ideology that apparently he also felt I could easily sway him from by not agreeing with him, with his like pro capitalist, pro like entrepreneur, whatever ideology. And he called it a philosophy. And he's like, well, you can't get anywhere without a philosophy. You need a system of beliefs and blah blah blah. Well, he said philosophy. You need a philosophy, and a philosophy and the way that he's talking about is not the same thing. A system of beliefs, you always have that. Always, everybody has that. This is part of the self awareness thing. Observe your beliefs, and like when you are more self aware, you can understand why you see things a certain way, or even if you don't understand why, you can understand that you see things a certain way, but those are beliefs and they can be changed. And you don't have to spend your entire life doing it. You can just sit there and just think about it, or you can be aware of it, and then when you see something in real life that is related to that thing that you're aware of, like if you, for example, if you wanted to change a belief and you're aware that that belief is there, you don't have to tell yourself, oh, believe this other thing, believe this other thing. No, you could just be aware of your beliefs and then pay attention to yourself and pay attention to the world around you, and you'll find evidence to the contrary. You don't have to sit there and brainwash yourself into thinking things that aren't true. And if you're not brainwashing yourself, then, you know, if you actually know what's real, people aren't going to be able to sway you as much. And that's what I'm working on. So this is where we diverged. Like, we both have, similar views at first, but we diverged because he's going for the bullshit and I'm going for the opposite. I want to know what's real. So, anyways, yeah, the small business owners get romanticized a lot by people who aren't small business owners and want to be, but there's another thing that bothers me is how people who want to succeed won't cooperate because they're only worried about money. I mean, not everybody, but these particular types of people are only worried about money. And so when they think that they have to spend money, like you have to have a certain dedication to what you're doing that's beyond the practical because you're going to be doing some unpractical things for long-term benefit. And I think this is where this guy diverged with me because I'm willing to do the unpractical stuff because in a way it is practical. You see, I'm willing to put some things aside for long-term results. I'm willing to, like, let's say I had a vehicle, I'd be willing to live in the vehicle to save money. I wouldn't even think twice about it, to save money so that I can get this other thing. See, it might not be practical to him in the short term, but I'm not looking at the short term. I'm not looking at my, immediate needs. I understand that I have needs, but it's not all black and white for me. It's not like I have to have everything or nothing. I understand that I need a certain amount of things to keep going. And this, again, the self awareness thing, like I'm aware of my needs and how I react to certain things. Like I'm aware of what I need to avoid burnout. I don't have to follow, somebody else's mantra. And I figure it out as I go. Like every day I'm learning new things without even trying, just by paying attention and reflecting a lot. And yeah, I don't buy any of that bullshit. All of that romanticized business bullshit. It made me realize that business is made up. Like so much of business is it's just bullshit because what it comes down to is if you want to make money or if you have a certain goal, you don't have to always play by the rules. And for me, playing by the rules has got me nowhere. That's why I don't play by the rules all the time. That's why I do so many weird things, because playing by somebody else's rules has caused me a lot of pain. And doing it my way, even if I do fail, at least I will learn something from it to build on my understanding of things. Like, at least I can take responsibility for that and not say, this is my ideology, I'll follow it no matter what. I don't want to do that. But yeah, the things that people claim are true, anything that somebody says is like the truth, and they don't have any actual facts to back it up, or the facts they use are illogically like placed, if that makes sense. Like if they're using a lot of fallacies and stuff, and I can't research it and find the same conclusion, like it's bullshit. I'm not gonna believe those people because those people are dangerous. I've been in situations where I doubted myself and I let somebody else's conclusions be the conclusion. You know what I mean? Like I've let somebody else's goals and wants and desires or beliefs or opinions or whatever get in the way of what I thought. And it's almost like every single freaking time something bad happens to me because of it. I've lost a lot of things. I've lost animals. I've lost pets. I've lost, you know, um, like budding businesses, kind of like they weren't quite businesses, um, but they were getting somewhere, and then poof, I lost it because of interference with other people. Now, I don't just like ignore other people completely. I just see them not as a guide. I don't look for guidance. I look for information that will help me judge what's best. I do not look for an ideology or for somebody to tell me what to think. And ironically, ironically, the same guy that I've been going on about, the guy with the physics degree, he's like, well, college just teaches you what to think. But he's willingly throwing his brain out the window for ideology that tells him what to think. It's pretty ridiculous. So, I don't know what to call this, just my rant about, just a little venting about the bullshit that people spread around about uh, who you are because you have certain income, white trash mentality, that kind of thing. I guess being homeless and being poor and not being like your usual person who got a job and everything's fine and never went through anything, because I have experienced the hardships that I have experienced, I see that all that is bullshit. I'm sure other people do too, but I feel like a lot of people. I'm actually surprised that most people don't seem to realize that, unless I'm just living in a really backwards area, which I think I am. Um, it seems like a lot of people just don't get it. And when you try to tell them, they think that you're trying to, sway them from their beliefs, but no, you're just trying to show them reality. So I care about reality more than I care about money, I guess. That's what I'm going to call this. Because money, the ways that people think about money are unrealistic.